Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my Daily Dose with Tim. Today is season 3, episode 36. And we're going to continue part 6 of how to execute lease options the right way. And as you know, we're basically 3 episodes now as of today into the deal analysis process. And so what that means is this is actually probably one of the most exciting episodes so far. I mean, I know every other episode has been exciting, right? However, this is really where you get to see whether or not it cash flows, and if so, how much it actually cash flows. And so on that note, I'm just going to quickly draw you back to season 3, episode 35, where we left off, is the fact that we actually managed to calculate how much we're actually going to be making from a revenue standpoint on a monthly basis. And so what we need to figure out now next is what we typically call the expenses part, or our pity payment. And as explained during the previous episode, if you haven't watched the other episodes yet, make sure you pause here and go back and start at the very least season 3, episode 31, so that when it comes to lease options, you are at least able to catch up and connect the dots properly. I really don't like it when things are taken out of context. And also, you might have questions right now that have already been answered, okay? So go back to it if you have not done so. However you have, let's continue. Usually, we only budget for pity, and it just depends on how you actually do this strategy, because sometimes you might be the managing partner, sometimes you might be the money partner, and that may sometimes affect your business decisions in terms of what you want to budget in. However, from a pure deal analysis perspective, I'm just going to use pity to demonstrate the concept and principle, and more importantly, once again, the thought process. Remember, I keep saying this, it's always about the thought process, because you don't need fancy computer spreadsheets or any sort of hardware these days or softwares. As long as you got a very clear thought process with every single strategy, you can basically create and structure deals on the go anytime, anywhere. And so with that said, coming back, we've already determined, okay, that even though the option to purchase price at the end of 3 years is $650,000, based on a 3.5% year after year appreciation, still kind of lost that word for a little bit. I want to say amortization because we're going to mortgage calculation in a bit. Anyways, we did determine that based on that, today's maximum purchase value is about $586,000. And so why is that so important? Because I want you to do this. Depends on where you are. For all my Canadian investors and Canadian friends, it's very straightforward. There is an app that looks like a green little house that says Canadian Mortgage App. Let me see. Canadian Mortgage App. Okay, so I'm going to share this with you, put it on the screen for my friends in other countries. So that's what it looks like, Canadians. It's called the Canadian Mortgage App. Okay, I would highly recommend that you download that app for yourselves, so that when you're running numbers, and I'm going to put a preface on this, most of the times this is really only for residential calculations. Okay, this is only for residential calculations. When you're going into multis later, that's something completely different. Okay, and so when it comes to this, if you are in the US and Australia and the UK, maybe you're going to have to just simply use a bank version of the mortgage calculator or the amortization table. So whatever the case may be, the thing about it though is, Canadians, I don't have great news for you, simply because of the fact that our mortgages are calculated and based on semi-annual compounding. So what that means is, let's say if the posted rate is 5%, what that means is it's actually 2.5% compounded twice every single year. Okay, that's how Canadian mortgages work. Whereas if you're in Australia, you're in the US, you're in the UK, whatever rate you see, it's compounded once a year, it's compounded once a year. And this is why for Canadian calculations, I like to use that app, because it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it and it makes it a lot easier. All it means is, Canadians, we pay a little bit more in our mortgage payments, even though the rates are exactly the same between us and the other countries that I just mentioned. So on that note, coming back here, expenses, PI payment. What you're going to do now, if you're actually leveraging this particular app, Okay, I'm going to show you this. And if you're using a different calculator, it's basically a very similar concept. Okay, remember, thought process. The steps are exactly the same. What you'll do here is clearly home price is $586,000. Down payment, we're going to estimate 20% down. Okay, 20% down. So that works out to be $117,200. And that means you'll see a mortgage amount for $468,800. So for those of you who are using a regular amortization calculator, this is probably the number you're going to need is $468,800. $468,800 is your mortgage amount. And I'm going to do a 3-year rate. You can choose fixed or variable. You can choose fixed or variable. For most income properties, we tend to suggest variables, okay? However, in this particular case, I would say that fixed rates are okay. Fixed rates are okay because 99.9% of the times, especially if you screen them and vet them properly, the intention is for them to stay there for at least the next 3 years before any sort of exit strategy is and will be applied, okay? So you can do 3-year fixed, 3-year variable. Basically, the rate that popped up right now for 3-year fixed on my screen says 5.6%. And under amortization, I'm going to use 30 years right now. Okay, so 30 years amortization. So what that means is you're going to get a monthly payment amount of $2,672.32. Now, I like to overestimate my expenses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round it up to the nearest $5 mark. So that makes it 2,675. Okay, 2,675. Now, totally forgot to actually complete this portion earlier. Okay, total revenue on a monthly basis is 4,203 here. And remember, I was using our home market as our example right now. And so from a tax standpoint, a property like that, you're looking at about $6,000 a year. That's on the high end for sure. However, I rather over budget it from day one simply because property taxes and insurance are the two expenses that will always go up. Regardless of what you're hearing on the news, they usually tend to go up no matter what, simply because of labor and material costs to maintain all of these things. And so that means on a monthly basis, if it's $6,000 a year, we are looking at $500 on a monthly basis. And the insurance that we will be getting is a rental insurance. Okay, so mostly for structures and for water, weather damages, so on and so forth. Typically speaking, you're looking at about $150 on a monthly basis for a property like this. And so now we're going to take out our calculator. So 2,675 plus basically $650. You are now looking at a total monthly expense amount. I want to make sure that my flip chart is still showing completely on the screen. Is 3,325. Is 3,325. So the exciting time now is upon us. Let's figure out what our cash flow is. Okay, I would have written it down there. However, I know I'm running out of space on the camera frame at the moment. So you will take 4,203 and you minus 3,325. That means on a monthly basis, you are looking at a monthly cash flow of $878. Excuse me, $878. And so on that note, I want to just do a quick step ahead quickly, okay? How many months are we making that money for? It's a 3-year program, so 36 months. So 878 times 36 months. The total profit from cash flow now at this point is $31,608. $31,608. So let's take a look. Does a cash flow? Priority number 1, check. Remember, If you have not gone through those episodes yet, I will highly encourage you to go back to episode 14, I believe, of this season, and 15, where I discussed the real estate investing priorities. And I do recommend that you go based on that process, because that'll also help you really streamline in terms of how you make your short-term, midterm, and long-term plan as an investor leveraging real estate as an asset class. Okay. Now, excuse me. Coming back here, 31,608. Let's keep going. So we know it's cash flowing now. What's the next step? Priority number 2, return on investment. How hard is my money working for me? So in order for us to figure out return on investment, we need to really also figure out what our initial investment is going to look like. So initial investment, typically speaking, in this particular case, would be, it should be in red, because technically speaking, that means money coming out of your pocket to get into the deal. Okay. So right off the bat, I'm going to change back to black for now. Typically speaking, down payment, when we purchase the process, okay, when we purchase the process, we need a down payment. Typically speaking, we need to inspect it. So we have inspection. There's always going to be appraisal done to make sure that you are making money in the buy. Okay, you're making money in the buy. However, in this particular case, we're going to keep things simple. We say that current maximum purchase price is 586. We're going to buy it at 586. Okay. Later on, when I bring everything over to the spreadsheet to show you some of the other thought process, you will see how the numbers change accordingly. And at this point, we also need to consider what we call legal. Even if you're a lawyer yourself, maybe you're not paying yourself to do this, the conveyancing process. So typically speaking, 1, 2, 3, 4. Excuse me, I'm a little bit more sensitive to the marker fumes today for some reason. Between these 4 things, that typically form our initial investment when it comes to lease options. And so in this particular case, remember, let's go back to our app. Down payment of 20% is 117,200. 117,200. Inspection on a property like this these days typically is about 650. Appraisal, approximately 500. Legal, I always like to budget about $2,000. Now, quick tip, maybe I've already shared this. I don't remember at this point, to be honest. However, again, repetition is not a bad thing. Typically speaking, when we are buying a property, the legal fees are slightly higher than when we're selling one. Why? Because our lawyers need to do a little bit more work to comb through the titles of the property that we want to acquire to make sure that we are protected. Okay. So usually there's a little bit more work involved when we are acquiring. So what this means is, typically speaking, this is how much money we would have to come up with. So let's add it all up again. 117,200 plus 650 plus 500 plus another 2,000. So now we're at 123,500. Okay, 123,500. Now, depending on where you're executing the strategy, like I said, the example here is in Alberta, Canada. And so what that means is we don't have what we call land transfer tax here. In the UK, you guys call it stamp duty. And so if you need, this is probably where you're going to factor in your land transfer tax when you're buying a property, okay? Right now, we're not factoring that in. However, the beauty about lease options, as I said, this is the only strategy that actually contributes to all 3 income buckets. And so earned income, initially, if you remember, they are actually coming up with what we call an initial option consideration of, I believe, 32,500. Okay. So what that means is really the true amount of money that comes out of your pocket to get into this deal now will be the difference between those 2 numbers. So minus 32,500. So we're now at 87850. 87,850. So $87,850 is our initial investment. Okay. So that number is important now. Why? Because we're going to go into calculate our return on investment. And so in order to get that, the first thing we got to do is how much money are we actually making in total from the whole deal? And so when the tenant buyers, okay, remember the phrase that I gave you and I said it out multiple times, and I encourage you to remember that, is your total option consideration will turn into your final down payment when you're qualified and choose to exercise your option to purchase. So assuming that they are doing all of that, your option to purchase price basically is the sale price for you as the investor. So what that means is on closing day, you got $650,000 coming into your bank account, okay? However, first thing first, are there expenses associated with it? Ah, dang it. Always expenses. What are these expenses? First thing first, we said we don't own the whole property outright, which is good. Okay, you want to learn to leverage. Mortgage balance is definitely a big one. The second one here is you still got to pay legal to sell the property. What else? This is where you credit them back their total option consideration. Okay. And then last but not least, this is where the initial investment number comes in. And so where do we get the mortgage balance? Let's go back to our trusted Canadian mortgage app right here. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at 3-year balance, which it says $448,890. So I'm going to just round it up to the nearest thousand. So that will be 449. Okay. So 449 right here. Legal, I'm still going to budget 2,000, rather over budgeted than under. Total option consideration. Let's redo this. Typically speaking, as we said from day one of deal analysis, it's 10% of 650 because that was the business decision that we made. However, we were rounding numbers throughout this whole process. So I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So if you remember, on a monthly basis, they are contributing $903 in their monthly option. So paying that for 36 months plus the initial $32,500 that they put in. So it is now $65,008. I know it's almost negligible. However, I want to be as accurate and close as possible. So $65,008. And initial investment, we just got that number. So let's bring it over, which is $87,850. Okay, $87,850. $87,850. Let's take a look. What is our profit on sale day? Here we go. Take out the calculator. 650,000, that's money in, okay? Money put into our pocket, and then we got to say how much money is coming out of our pocket. So minus 449,000 minus 2,000 minus 65,008. Oops, messed that up a little bit. Let me just quickly get back there. Okay, minus $65,008, and then minus our initial 87,850, 46,142. $46,142 is profit at sale. I just want to remind everybody of what this number means. This number means that on the day that your tenant buyers successfully become homeowners, they're extremely happy, they're extremely grateful, and you get to put a check in your pocket of $46,000 and change. I always ask when I'm actually doing this in a life situation, is that a good day or is that a freaking amazing day? Okay, it's a beautiful day. And so this is why we started out with this strategy going, if you're not making a difference in other people's lives, you shouldn't be in business at all. It's what Sir Richard Branson always says. And I truly do believe that this is a win-win scenario, if not win-win-win-win-win, because we get to involve and work with so many of our power team members throughout the entire process. And so on that note, let's take a look at our total profit, okay? So total profit from the deal would be this number plus our cash flow number. Now you know why we pre-did it. 31,608. Okay, so 31,000. I'm gonna use my green marker here. 31,608. So if we were to add it up in total, we are looking at 77,750. So $77,750. Okay. I don't know. Sometimes when I go into different rooms, people have different perspective of how that number works. I'm going to offer you one. So many of my students, every time they look at this number, they take out the calculators and they go 77,750. Okay. That's a 3-year deal. That means on an annual basis, I got $25,000 a month of my money working for me. Okay, I want to remind you, this is total profit. This is not gross revenue anymore. This is your total profit. And they're going, wow, that is awesome. That is way better than, having my teenagers do anything in the house. Or anyways, it's a different perspective. So 77,750. Now we can do the ROI, return on investment calculation. So return on investment, as mentioned before, is return sitting on investment. What is the return number? Well, we already said the return overall is 77,750. And our initial investment was this number, which is 87,850. Okay. And then you want to multiply by 100%. So the number here now, okay, let's punch it in. 77,750 divided by 87,850 times 100%, you are getting 88.503%. So 88.5. 88.5%. However, remember, this is a 3-year deal. 3-year deal. So 88.5 divided by 3 years. Now you're getting a number that goes approximately 29.5%. In this particular case, is return on investment per year, or simply, this is what I would usually call your simple interest return on an annual basis, or your annual cash on cash, because we're not doing the compounding numbers here. Ooh, I want to make sure you guys can see this properly. Here we go. Okay. And so at this point, I really just want to encourage you to really review this entire episode. We went through quite a lot more numbers today. And I am going to just share with you the fact that I want you to really think about this entire strategy and how the numbers came about. First of all, we're cash flowing from a single family property, roughly in this case, $880, $878 on a monthly basis. On closing day, when you've offered somebody to complete and achieve their goal and dreams of home ownership, you put $46,000 in your pocket. And throughout the entire process, they are most likely taking care of the property way better than a regular tenant would, because they want to buy it out. And they already know that this is going to be their house, their home. And at the same time, you have a piece of hard asset working for you with little to no management headache and making about 29.5% return on investment per year. Per year. Where do you go to find returns like that, where you have pretty much 100% control over how the entire deal unfolds. You're making money, you're helping somebody achieve something that they otherwise thought they wouldn't be able to. And so this is why this strategy is so powerful. And I do recommend that everybody at the very least needs to learn it and at least execute on a few deals on it, because this also forms a very solid foundation for anybody who wants to build any kind of passive income. Okay. And so in the next episode, we're going to go into exploring the different structures and different considerations of how the numbers may change depending on the markets, depending on different factors. And so make sure you go back and review this episode because there's a lot of numbers coming at ya. So with that said, thank you one more time for sticking with me for my Daily Dose with Tim. I know last Saturday, we actually had one of the best online boot camps ever. And the next one, if you missed this one, is actually going to be happening in September. I will share the details and the dates as soon as they are created and announced. Also, if you're in the Greater Toronto area, we are running our next live workshop for 2 full days on July 15th and 16th. So I'll be sharing that with you in case that is something that you want to attend and also that's how you prefer to learn. On that note, thank you very much again. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and have an amazing week ahead. This week, I'm going to be finishing up the lease options module with everybody, and there's still 4 more episodes, which means there's a lot of things coming your way. And if you've got any questions on numbers, deal analysis, or anything that we've discussed so far during this entire season, feel free to comment below or send me a DM, which I know is most of your preferred methods. Anyway, so have a great rest of the day and live well, everyone. See you later.